Hello, a warm welcome to the Real Talk, yet another edition that I do hope you're going to love. Thank you for sparing time to join us. We will be online all through, so we are on RTV and on YouTube. Kindly share the links that we have as many people as possible following the conversation. As always, we are at Mythos Boutique Hotel in Kiyovu. When you find time during the week, please check them out. They've got a restaurant that I would recommend highly for a small work meeting, work lunch. It's called Atmosphere. Find them on Twitter, atmosphere_KGL. Today we're going to talk about Hollywood. You know, we've got Hollywood, Nollywood, Bollywood. Then we have our Hollywood. It's an opportunity for us to learn more about Hollywood, and who better to tell the story of Hollywood than a man who's deeply invested in that industry. Please stay around for my guest. Thank you for joining us. Our guest is Eric Kabera. He's the founder of Rwanda Cinema Center. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation, Eric.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you.
I always wanted to have this with you, so thanks for saying yes.
I'm humbled. I'm humbled to be here. Thank you.
You know, Eric, when somebody meets you today, they know Eric Kabera, this man that has taken our film industry to another level. But my interest, before we get to your work, is where did you come from? Where did this start from? What kind of childhood did you have? The reason I start with that question is to try and piece up things, to know if that childhood is the one that led you to the cinematography that you do today. Yeah, if you
Thank
could
you
tell
very
us
much.
that.
Yeah, I'm just a regular guy. I'm a regular guy you'll find on the Kigali street or in Rwanda. So I'm a product of Rwanda reconstruction, rehabilitation, and rebirth, if you like. So I was born and raised in Congo, the former Zaire. So I'm one of many kids from my father. And I
When
had
you
a
say
very
many, do you know the number?
more than 20.
Oh, there's so many.
So my father was such a very elegant, good man, very humble, very social, and he loved people. And so we happened to live in a space that happened to be called Goma. It was a lovely old colonial kind of sort of town in the old days. And that's where my parents, when they left Rwanda, they became refugees in former Zaire, now DRC. And I grew up literally speaking Swahili, a little bit of Kinyarwanda at home, and then French, then later on came to learn English. So some people, when they meet me, they think that I'm an Anglophone, but initially I was not. So I did my primary there in Goma, then I did my secondary, I did child education and psychology. Then I went on and did 2 years of law school, which I dropped out before I embarked on media and film business or undertaking of learning the trade of the film industry. So I returned in 1994. I'm literally, skipping a lot of chapters here so that, I don't go on telling people my biography in a half an hour show. So I came back, but I came back in a strange way because I came with journalists. So who were covering the aftermath of the genocide against the Tutsi. And initially they were covering the refugees pouring into Goma. And then some of them brought me in to cover the survivors. And
Were you already a practicing journalist?
I wasn't. I came in as more of an interpreter and guide. And but needless to say that I used to be a very talkative person, even in the class. So I'll try and speak English, as broken as it was then. And people will laugh in the class because in the Congo, until today, English is not the main language.
It's not the first language.
And during the holidays, I would go to Uganda because some of my siblings, my brothers and sisters, used to live in Kampala, Kisoro, Bunagana. So I'll go for holidays. So I'll pick some English and really triggered my interest to learn English even more. So going back to me coming back into Rwanda, I came, I think the first journalist that brought me in was a journalist from NPR, National Public Radio, which is one of the major radio stations in the US. and then I got hired by New York Times, then some other guys from Philadelphia Inquirer. We're talking about 1994.
And so once you came in, you never left, huh?
So I came, I was enraged, and I was shaken. So I went back and said, like, you know, I'm gonna come and settle. Yeah. And then my parents joined in. My father, he went to Musanze, and I stayed in Remera and never went back to the Congo because there was a call for people to come back home. So I came within that particular wave of men and women who had to return back home. But I just did not come to figure out what I'm going to do. I was busy right on. And I got trained by the best of the journalists you can imagine, from the New York Times, from the Boston Globe, from Chicago Tribune, from France 2. The other day, some person actually put on Twitter an interview of me, enraged. I don't know what I was talking about. I think I was talking about the role of the French during the genocide against the Tutsi, because when we came in, I think the first experience I went to Bisesera, and I was on a French helicopter. Nobody knows about all that. So I was there, and I flew there with this French journalist, and then by the time we arrived there, I saw people. It was my first time to see, you know, somebody was crucified.
Yeah.
And that sort of marked left a scar in my brain. Maybe positively, because I was engaged in telling the Rwandan story.
Yeah.
And so it went on from one journalist to another until we made 100 Days, which we made in Kibuye as well. And 100 Days became like the beginning of the career of me making films in Rwanda. You know, I teamed up with a gentleman called Nick Hughes, who had been an amazing cameraman, somebody who was really shaken by what he recorded as well. So we became friends, and then we ended up producing together 100 Days, which became actually the film that paved the way to all the other films that followed, from Sometimes in Airport, Shooting Dogs, you know.
The decision to use actual survivors in 100 Days, whose idea was that?
I mean, technically there were no actors, you know, even telling
and you couldn't bring in people from outside? Because after all, you're working with international.
Yeah, we did bring a couple of experienced actors. Yeah. One of them being David Mulwa from Kenya. So he came and actually did some acting coaching for the actors, and that did well because it actually gave an idea on how to act on screen. And many of these young men and women had never been on screen. They've never been on screen. They've never seen cameras. They've never seen lights. Sometimes, you know, we'll put on lights in the city of Kibuye, and the whole city will go dark because, you know, these were not LED. These are like, you know, 2,000 watts lights. So if you have like 40 of them, you're talking about, you know, thousands of watts that you pump into like one go. And then if you run it for quite some time, you're not talking about an hour. You're talking about 6, 7, 8 hours. Shooting, and so that really became, if you like, my university at the very, very early stage, and I never looked back. And so, you know, the rest is what people see, but that was really my beginning.
That's quite interesting. So you go straight, you study media, then you come in as an intern, and there was no turning back. As you said, that was it. That was the university.
Yeah, it was interesting because whenever you tell people that you're making a movie, and then, you know, there was a lot of need for rehabilitation, you know, survivors were still, you know, up in the hills, and Mr. Kabera is coming with some ideas of making movies, but
I was going to ask, how was that received? Because really, at that time, you're meeting people whose priorities are completely different from yours.
Yeah. But you know, some people got it. Some people got it. I mean, I remember when we were doing 100 Days, we had to go and ask for the Minister of Defense to give us, you know, support. And at the time, His Excellency was the Vice President, so he got it. He was like, no problem, we'll get it to a young man. And he knew Nick Hughes, so that actually made a difference, because Nick was among the very first journalists who covered the genocide, no, before the genocide, the struggle of the RPA. at the time when, in the early 90s. So the motives were right, and the ability to tell the story of Rwanda through the survivors and communities that we found
and
there.
filming
And
from the
filming from
locations
location, yeah.
themselves where the incidences happened.
It was difficult. I don't think that I would.
How did you manage?
I don't think that I would do it.
Must have been quite emotionally draining.
It was very draining, but it was the biggest university you can ever go to, because I remember 5 years down the line, after making all the films, I went to New York to enroll into like a film school. So I gave them like a little bit of my background and my CV, and I showed them the trailer. They go like, "You don't need to come and learn here. You need to come and teach."
Exactly.
So, and New York Film Academy has become like one of the biggest film schools now in the world. To say that, they were also impressed to see that we could do that with a very limited resources and with very little experience. And it's literally symbolizes the story of Rwanda, if you like, because you work with what you have.
With what you have, yeah.
And you do it with sincerity and resilience, and so that's really when we're doing that. And a few years down the line, I said, like, there's so many films that are going to come and make films on the genocide, because after we premiered it at the Toronto International Film Festival, we got a standing ovation. And my friend was like, do you know what this means? This is a huge accolade. Because for me, being Rwandan, so you're kind of sort of divided between your personal emotions and your professional experience. Meaning is like, how do you stand there and celebrate yourself and tap on your chest that you made this incredible film, but it's about the genocide. So it created a conflict.
Of the relatives that you lost.
Yeah, so it creates immediately a conflict, and somehow the film died, a slow death like that, within the framework of distribution and promotion and advertisement. Because making a film is one thing, but actually getting it shown is a whole nother battle. But
what kind of battle? Because I would think making the film is the hardest part.
No. Yeah, because some of the films that you see on TV, be it all these Marvel movies and things like that, the budget for distribution and budget is enormous. So, and they think about that before even they make the movie.
Okay.
So they go like, okay, where are we going to sell it? What are going to be the strategies and things like that? How many theaters, how many territories and things like that. So, and for us, we did it. It was kind of an independent film, but that had its own mission. The mission was to tell the Rwandan story to the rest of the world. And that one we achieved. I mean, because until today, many people still look at 100 Days as one of the most definitive film on the genocide against the Tutsi.
And I keep going back to it every now and then.
Yeah. So, and again, talking about that particular conflict, they go like, oh, I've done this, but the survivors are still like in misery and things like that. So I went on and made another documentary called Keepers of Memory, which is the survivors' accounts on the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, which really took me not to create a narrative, but actually a conversation like this. Tell me what
real life
experience. Real life. And it became really, really acclaimed around the world because they could see the survivors talking to the screen, because I wasn't interrupting. It was just like from one survivor to another, from one testimony to another. And when we showed it in New York, and I actually showed it at the Toronto International Film Festival as well. It was highly celebrated. And then when we showed it in New York, and one of the review read, the film that takes you places Hotel Rwanda never went near. So as a filmmaker, as a creator, that's a very big accolade. Because you can have $10 million to make a movie, and then you have like $50,000 or $100,000 movie that you compact, you produce, you show to people, and people appreciate that. And that created a lot of sympathy to the survivors. So like my brother-in-law in the UK and my sister decided to come up and sort of like take up on the causes of the survivors in Bisesero and buying them cows and just being families. It's not really about buying them anything, but it's actually like telling them that we care.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. People will send me like letters to send to survivors of Nyamata and things like that. So it became kind of sort of personal, and then it became a little bit.
It touched the emotions.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
did.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult because you're a filmmaker. Then you have this sympathy towards the survivors. Then you can't be their supporters or their, how do I put it, their philanthropist. And yeah, but it had to be done.
Yeah.
And even when going forward, even like the kind of education we give at the center, at the school, the Kwetu Film Institute, we try as much as possible to involve the human element. So you can be a good filmmaker, you know how to take great visuals, great camera work, and things like that. But I think the human element needs to be included.
It shouldn't be forgotten. Yeah.
So,
because I wanted to know then, how did we come from making such, you've got your great work, 100 Days, you have Keepers of Memory, and then we have the center. How did the center come to be? At what point did you decide, let's now have a place that people can converge and good work can be done?
Yeah, good question. Because when we finished 100 Days, I mean, we had so much troubles in terms of like getting people to understand the mechanism of filmmaking, the lighting department, the camera department, the sound department, the acting department, like the whole industry, how it operates. So I came back home with a few locals who were still passionate to continue. So I go like, guys, you know, I don't have any money. You can come in the back of my garage. I convinced my wife to, you know, not to park inside the garage, just to remove everything from the garage and put my edit, all my equipments in there. So like some of the guys who cut their first teeth in this trade started in my garage.
In that garage.
And so they became my students, my colleagues, now my competitors. You know, we compete in cooperation. So they make great videos, they write great films, and so it's more about the inspiration. So it started from there. So the center grew out of the need because we had a lot of guys from Kenya who came to work on the making of 100 Days, a few from the UK, and other peoples. And then I wanted to continue the journey of telling the story using the basic elements we had. I mean, at the time we were using like a Betacam. The DV tapes were not yet there. The digital cameras were not. It was extremely expensive, but I'll go and do my job of fixing and interpreting and things like that, and then I'll buy a camera, and then I'll use it for my, you know, productions. Then I'll train the people with it. So it just, you know.
Nobody was investing in this. You didn't have any support from anyone or organization.
It was very difficult because the priorities were just different, you know. And you know, at the time I was, you know, making good money. I mean, I'll be paid $300 a day. If I do like 10 days, I'll make $3,000, and I will invest that. And but I had a goal for a long run, so that, you know, when people need more cameramen, more videographers, more photographers, so you don't have to fly somebody from South Africa, from London, from New York, which used to be the case. I mean, which is sometimes still the case.
It still is the case, yeah.
But at least here we have our own local practitioners who are doing it. And so from the center, I had to go to the Ministry of Education and register a school. And again, you know, it's just a matter of creating the need and, you know, putting the parameters right so that you can actually have a fully fledged film and television schools where you can collaborate with people from the Academy, Sundance, Tribeca, and others, which we have done already. But again, you know, these things require a lot of investment.
So, you know, we like to talk about Africa telling its own story. Even in the media space, we say that all the time. And I find myself asking, what are you doing about that? Because it's one thing to say it and the other thing to put it into place. So when you look at the center today and the film industry, how can film be used, or the film industry be used to actually tell our story, not just for us to talk about it, but to tell our story and make sure it's coming and being passed on from one group to another, one generation to the other.
Yeah, I think it's taking shape. I don't want to take full credit, but we kind of sort of, you know, through the, I don't know whether I'll call it a stone or something, or light up the match so that people get excited. And sometimes, you know, kids will get excited, and sometimes they don't get employed. They'll come to me like, oh, why did you get us involved? But I would say, you know, for the past 20 years, we have an average of about 60 kids that come through our center. So in 10 years, that's 600. In 20 years, that's about 1,200. We have about 1,500 who have come through our schools, either in a short period of time or in 2 years, and some of them will return. So once you do that, then you create a ripple effect in the community. I mean, that's why you have, like, you know, great photographers, great videographers, and now great storytellers and great actors who can invest into it. But if you look at it from a perspective of a long-term vision, you still need investment. You know, you still need, like, you know, people like Malaika or Hope Azed and things like that. They need to, like, you know, to be in an ecosystem that can create that narrative that can travel beyond Rwanda. And for that, you know, it needs other people to be receptive on the call of support, on the call of getting involved, and into the ecosystem of, you know, creating the narrative that is African enough that you be proud of. Because if you go to New York or London, other places, or Sweden, people will give you support, and they'll want, you know, like, you know, supported by Mythos, or supported by Milcolin, you know, and that comes with prestige, and that's a lifetime achievement recognition, because if you create a piece of work, if it's music or film, it stays forever. And people need to understand that it's not a truck you're going to buy and then after 10 years it's going to be depleted.
You dispose of it.
But that's another philosophy as well. And but it's coming. It's taking time. Sometimes, you know, like the young generation wants it to be faster than
microwave generation.
Yes,
is that what they call it?
than it used to be. And so I say, like, just take patience. I've been into the trenches for all these years, so just take your time, you know, step by a time. Don't try to do something that is being done in Los Angeles or in Canada, because you're not in Canada, you're not. So just be here.
One for ourselves. Exactly. We work with what we have and where we are.
But with excellence. I mean, it's gotten cheaper now, with equipments, with cameras that are not expensive anymore, with people can write, with and the Rwanda narrative is beautiful. The landscape is beautiful. The place is nice. People are nice. So
it is looking. The future is looking brighter.
Yeah,
no doubt. We're taking a break, Eric. When we come back, we'll talk about your collaboration with the Recording Academy, because they've been here, interacted with some of your students. You've done amazing work together. And I'm sure you have some ongoing projects. It would be great to hear what you're working on at the moment. Thank you for being part of The Real Talk. Hope you're loving the show. If you have any question or comment, kindly go online, use the hashtag The Real Talk. Eric and I will be there. We will respond. If you have any question related to the industry, ask, and we will respond to that. Thank you for being here. We're at Mythos Boutique Hotel. It's in Kiyovu, the home of Atmosphere Restaurant. You should visit them. They've got the weekly buffet. It's served on weekdays. You can come in as a group of colleagues and enjoy lunch at Atmosphere Restaurant. On Twitter, they are on which handle? Atmosphere_KGL. We will be back. Welcome back to The Real Talk. Use the hashtag The Real Talk, and please share the link to the YouTube channels that we have our friends and family enjoy the conversation. Our guest is Eric Kabera. He's a filmographer. Does that word exist? Or cinematographer? Filmmaker. Oh my goodness. Yes. And founder of Rwanda Cinema Center. Eric, so you've collaborated with the Recording Academy, and you've brought in award-winning actors and actresses. They've had the opportunity to train some of your students. How did that collaboration come to be? And you can also tell us about the work that you're currently doing with different organizations. I know that you're working on something with a UK-based organization.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's a saying that goes, I don't know if I'm going to say it right, is the local you are, the more international you become. So those are the
interesting.
Yeah. So those are the elements that I share with some of my students at the school. Because don't try to be Denzel. You can be yourself. Don't try to be Oprah. You can be yourself. Don't try to be all those
Be
big
yourself.
names.
Oprah will watch and admire
Exactly.
you.
So really, the journey of our film industry, or Hollywood, or the Kwetu Film Institute's educational platform is really working within the limited resources we have, but giving them the best we can afford to give. And we've done that over the years, and that has made people to pick interest. Because we'll make a short film, we'll show it in our film festival that has been running for every year until COVID hit, and that will not only show the film in the city, but it will take the film in the countryside, and hence the name of Hollywood, Cinema in the Hills of Rwanda. So we'll take this screen. And
you were doing that
Yeah.
during the festival, the film festival.
Yeah. So that's what gives it the name of Hollywood, because it's a program that
So you
takes
go down
the
with
movie
huge
in the village
screens and
then put it up and say, cinema, where is it? And then we'll show them films on like unity and reconciliation, or reproductive health, and things that are entertaining but educational at the same time. Because we're talking about 18 years ago, not that many people had smartphones, not that many people had the television sets in their villages. So it was really a huge, exciting element. And that's how people such as Tribeca got interested, and the Academy of Motion Pictures, because the Academy of Motion Pictures is actually an organization that deals with international filmmakers. It's not only the guys in Hollywood or in America, but they have also outreach programs in India, in Vietnam, in Iran, in other places. So, and when I was having a conversation with them, I reached out to them, and then they found there was a documentary that was made on our program. It's a documentary called Finding Hollywood. It was produced by a couple out in Seattle in the U.S. Now they live in outside of the U.S. And so they made this documentary, which became beautiful, and where they watched it, it's like, we want to come and visit. So I went to LA, went to the academy, had a meeting, met some of the guys. I on the program, we decided that they would come. So 11 members came, including the former president of the academy, John Bailey. And so they came, I took them on a tour, they had a blast, they wrote about it.
Did you have to pay them to come? Or
No. I mean, I'm Hollywood.
You're Hollywood.
I'm Hollywood.
You can afford to bring
Hollywood.
this 11.
Yeah, so, and then on the ticket of that, they have to visit the country, visit the guerrillas, go to the Genocide Memorial, and visit the country, because it's a transformative journey. And they wrote about it, and they inspired all the other people to also continue visiting Rwanda. And we're talking about that we did 12 years ago. And then we continued. So each time I'll go to LA, I will be like, quote unquote, the RDB
like the ambassador.
non-appointed ambassador. So I go, visit Rwanda, and it has paid off. People will go, oh, Erica's invited us.
Yeah.
And so some people will come on their own, or those who I did not reach out, they will know in the network that I deal with. They give me a call. We go to, be in Malibu, in Beverly Hills, in their settings, and then I have meetings, and I'll tell them the itinerary, and I'll put them in touch with some of the tour companies, and this is actually evolving into people telling me, like, maybe you should have your own agency in LA so you can. So we're working around it so that actually we can formalize it and help even much more to tell the Rwandan stories using tourism, using film and media. So we have the Academy, we've discussed with Sundance, and many other organizations, even in Africa, people like DocuBox, and in Kampala, Maisha Film Lab, and I'm part of the consortium of African filmmakers. So if you want to, let's say, a cinematographer in Namibia or a soundman in Angola,
I should talk to you.
so we have a platform.
You've got them.
We have a platform. So they say, okay, anybody in Angola, so they do that. And we created that because we pushed for it. There's a guy who came from Nigeria actually, whose idea it was. So he literally wanted to have me as one of the key players, so that I can continue connecting and sort of like become kind of an ambassador to the platform and to the composition. And it has paid off. There are some people who have gotten some jobs and assignments in other places where I would not go. I'll just say like, hey, anybody in Benin, anybody in Angola.
A name will be given to you.
Yeah, so, and that's really part of the African narrative. How do we tell our stories and how do we empower one another? But again, you have to be a person who can pull it off.
Yeah.
You need to do the job.
No doubt.
So somebody will not call me.
You're not going to introduce yourself to someone in LA, get there, and you have nothing to offer.
Yeah,
You've got to put in the work.
Yeah, so you need to put in the work. So at the end of the day, it's not only about the international collaborations, but it's also to do with the national collaborations as well. So we believe working with the Ministry of Sports and Culture, Ministry of Sports or Ministry of Youth and Culture, that does help, and we are their partners, be it RDP and things like that. So whenever we
How about the local media? What can we do to make your work easier? I
mean, this is it, because not that many people know or understand or appreciate the magnitude of the kind of things that we do. Because you come, you have a meeting with somebody for 10 minutes, maybe you'll not get the vision of 30 years journey. It's like, we see it all the time when the president has to explain over and over to the rest of the world the Rwandan journey. So people need to be given time to appreciate, to understand.
So this is a good thing.
Yeah, so it's good, and to dig deep. So like if you find the people who can actually tell the story within the framework of the entire narrative. Yeah. So it's my story is just not a single story. It's it's the one that represents the story of Rwanda, really. So I'm just one.
Talent-wise, how are we doing? Because skills, that's another area that is problematic. How are we so far when you look at where you started and where you are? You've already churned out over 1,500.
Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there, and it's very funny because we're asking that we're actually doing a television show in English, and it's not easy, and within the limited resources, so we find it a bit challenging, and but those limitations sometimes they're very beautiful, and you don't want somebody to speak like an English guy or an American guy, so let's them speak within their own accent. So there's that, and then the other thing is what? The other thing is we need a lot of training. We need a lot of theater plays. We need a lot of people who are willing to give up the time. If you call Malika and say, "Yeah, I'm coming." Yeah. So as I say, just like I came,
Yes.
I did not know what kind of show it. I kind of sort of knew of it, but you need to be giving.
That's true.
And generous with your time and with your.
Yeah, that's how we learn from each other and grow together.
Yeah. So that's I mean the journey is still tough, especially for the young ones who do not understand how long it takes. Because sometimes I get students who come to the school and they think that they're gonna be learning the trade in a year. I have one of my best students, and I look at him and it's like, it's 3 months. Yeah. You're going to have another 3 months, maybe of internship. Yeah. And then maybe a year. That's when I will feel like.
That is taking long.
And then it's like maybe 2 years. That's the time when I'll. But I try as much as possible to give them hands-on training, so they become my colleague quickly.
That's good. Yeah.
Which is the best way how you can actually train. I don't believe in the regular educational system when
keeping your students around for long.
Yeah. So books are highly necessary, but the practicality of things and how life evolves. So even in the show that we're doing, we're using it as an educational platform. Yeah. So we use.
Do you want to tell us a bit about that show?
Yeah.
The latest one.
The show is really an educational continuation of our institute, and the idea for me is like, how else do you talk about Rwanda? Besides showing the nice roads we have had, the new hotels we've built, the stadium we have. I mean, they have it in Lagos.
Yeah.
They have some hotels in Lagos, in South Africa, in London, and all those places.
Yeah.
Nairobi.
Yeah.
So you need to create a narrative around it. And for me, you know, I always figure out how I get my head busy, if you like. Get my brain sort of like working. And I'm not saying that I do invent things. You know, these things have been done before. TV shows are always there. You know, from Friends to convenience stores to name it to Cheers. Mine is kind of sort of inspired from the likes of Cheers, where people gather in a cafe and they have conversations, and then you have these waiters listening in.
That's beautiful.
And they have
chipping in sometimes.
And chipping in sometimes.
Yeah.
So we make it a comedy. It's actually it's a comedy, and a romantic comedy where the waiters have their own struggles, aspirations, and dreams, and then they see all these people coming around.
Where do you hope to show this?
That's interesting. I mean, you can go on RBA if they want something like that.
And it can be on YouTube.
It can be on YouTube, yes, but ideally I want to put it to other television networks. You can show in Ghana, Ghana, Kenya, Liberia, and other places. So we are thinking of creating really those kind of sort of collaborations.
You know, Eric, thank you so much for talking about that. Because one of the things that really frustrates me is the fact that we don't have Rwandan programs out there. And I keep saying, even if it's in Kinyarwanda, as long as it's a good production with subtitles, it can be shown in Ghana, it can be shown in South Africa. So we consume a lot of stuff from out there. Why aren't we on Netflix? You know, why don't we have a Rwandan production on Netflix? Why don't we have a channel like Maisha Magic dedicated to Rwanda content? I believe there's so much that can come from Rwanda and go out there. Why has it taken us this long to have such production out there? And my bosses at RBA will know that I talk to them a lot as well, and I keep saying, why don't we have these documentaries? Why haven't we? When you talk about gorillas, that's not a story for RDB to tell and that's it. What are the rest of us doing? And besides gorilla, what else are we talking about? You know, today we have great artists. We are waiting. Somebody from CNN will come and do an interview of the band and Bruce Melody, and the world will see it. There will be some stories being told there that Eric has not told. And yet Eric has a whole place and equipment. He can do a story like that. What stops us, really?
I think there's something that is being talked about, Africa Free Trade Area, where people have to communicate and travel freely in Africa. So we need to be consuming, stories from Kenya, and Kenyans consuming the story from Rwanda and Ghana and things like that. That can inspire all of us. I think it could be a political decision where the broadcasters say, like, you know what, rather than seeing some hallmark material, we can also see some, and that's where our film festival comes in, because what we do is we bring films from the rest of Africa, from Brazil, from Cuba, incredible stuff that inspire you to make your own film. So that, I'll give you an example. It's an American film, but made in Cuba. This is an American or British producer, I can't remember. Buena Vista Social Club Group. That documentary inspired me to make Inore, which is how do you tell a story of a nation through music and art. So I went and interviewed and followed artists and musicians, the Inore, and compiled the documentary. And that's the very documentary that I took to New York again. And then it was shown by the BAM Academy, Brooklyn Academy of Music. They loved it. And Malaika went and performed there alongside Nganzongari. So sometimes you do something like that is so localized, and then once it's projected at a bigger audience, they get inspired and they take it up onto another level.
Fantastic.
So it's
we need to do more of that.
Yeah, it's just a matter of supporting such kind of initiatives and follow through. Because I'll give you an example. I would have an idea, and then you shop around. You go, okay, And then go to some embassies, like, yeah, that's a nice idea. How much do you need? And they will support you. And what it means is they're literally learning about your culture, your political philosophy, your vision of the nation, and your understanding of the society, and then they have their name on.
Yeah.
And which is good, because it's a culture that they have, so they know that this thing will stay there with the support of Swedish embassy, the support of,
And there's nothing wrong with that.
there's nothing wrong with it. So it's something that our artists, our various stakeholders can embrace, but again, that's part of the education, having a festival, having a school. So I no longer have to go and tell people, I'm making a movie, I have a festival. At least that chapter is gone. That chapter is past, so we have other young men and women who have their own festivals, they have their own production houses, they can produce fast, they can edit fast. So in a sense, however much there's still some struggles, but there's an evolution. There's an evolution where,
We will get there.
if you see on social media, you find, oh, that's a nice visual. Who took this picture? Oh, who took this video? So it gives you an appetite of a place and the people. And it needs to be shared not only in Rwanda, but around the African continent, because the African continent needs to travel among themselves.
We need
you
to,
can go to Paris and Belgium and Italy, but you can also go to Lagos, you can go to other places, or Accra, and inspire one another. I mean, you have a lot of Ghanaians who come here and Nigerians. I mean, they get inspired a lot. And so those things are needed.
Yeah, good. How did COVID affect the industry?
Wow.
And I'm asking because I know we haven't fully recovered. Nobody has fully recovered from it.
Yeah, COVID was really, really hard, especially for the music industry, especially performing artists, people in theaters and cinema. In particular, people were not producing, people were not, we're not performing, and we are one of those victims.
But the film festival stopped.
The film festival stopped, so we are actually thinking of relaunching in 2025. So we actually celebrate our 20th anniversary. So we were talking with a curating organization called Curate It back in the UK. So they're specialized in actually, curating is one thing, because you're just packaging material or films in themes, in locations, and then putting it so that people can watch it. It's a whole industry. And so we're actually having a program that we're coaching some of our students to do that. But that can actually be replicated in other African countries as well. And once we do that, maybe we'll relaunch. But again, these kind of things require investment. And you don't want to cut corners and do like, oh, I did a festival and then 20 people turned up.
Let's do what we can afford. No, you want to get it right.
Get it right. Because we have affiliates, be it here, in Europe, in the US, in Africa. So they have a lot of, respect for Hollywood. And that needs to be revamped and needs to be embraced. And we've had, the way how we became very, very popular is because we took the film festival to the places, just like you're doing here, bringing the studio to meet us. So I'll take the films and I'll do a programming, let's say at Serena. I'll go let's say to Chez Robert, and Chez Robert is one of the restaurants in town that used to give us food for all our delegates for the whole week. Just like, so those kind of things help, and they need to be celebrated, and they need to be, those people need to be saluted, because
they're making a contribution, a huge contribution.
Yeah, a huge contribution, and one time, outside of my festival, when Robert De Niro visited Rwanda, he went Chez Robert, and Chez Robert said, "Oh, Robert, you're Robert too?" So sometimes they pay off, those kind of things, and you have to tell Robert and his entourage, this guy has been supporting my film festival.
Exactly.
Chez Robert may have cost him maybe a couple $1,000s,
but
that's
a big
that's a big blessing. That's a big prestige to have and to be recognized for.
Yeah. So do you remain in touch with these guys when you work with them? All these big names that we see, the film stars. You remain in contact. You have that direct line, and you don't need the assistant.
No, some of them I do, some of them I don't, because you need to respect those professional boundaries, and you don't have to be a stalker. And you can only go to them if you have something that is relevant, not only to you, but to them.
Yeah.
And that takes time. And but when that time comes, you walk through those hoops, and you make it happen. But I'm not one of those guys who says, oh, I have a celebrity I know, therefore let's
in
go
fact,
and
let me
hook
call
you.
them.
No.
And they're calling at
It's
midnight.
not worth it.
Yeah,
It's irrelevant, and it doesn't.
It's groupies that
Yeah,
do that.
it doesn't add up.
Yeah.
But what is so good is actually to have people who either respect you in your small way, within your vision, and you respect them in their realm. If celebrity A, B, C, D comes here, if there's a project we can do together, fine. If there's none,
yeah.
So
it was nice meeting you.
And again, it's never about you. It's about them.
Yeah.
So people have to understand that. So
that's true.
And once you have a project that you can do with them, that's when
okay.
that's what happens.
So before we go to 6Qs, other than the TV show, any other thing that you're currently working on? Because we definitely will look forward to the TV show, and I hope we'll have it on RBA and KBC and in Kenya and UBC. I'm sure it will be great production. Let's distribute it all over. I have a few contacts in those places, and I'm sure you also do. So we can reach out to them and see how to distribute that.
Yeah,
so besides the TV show, what else?
We have a bunch of other films. As you may remember, we did Africa United. So we are actually thinking of doing like Africa Reunited.
Oh, nice.
Because the Los Angeles is hosting the World Cup in 2 years, 2026, I think, next year. And there's the Olympics coming up. So we're trying to figure out how best can we blend in Rwanda into the narrative. Even though we don't go to the World Cup.
That's like a space of 4 years.
Yeah, so how do we do that? So I'm speaking to the writers about it. Okay. But just like, ideas and imagination and project. But one of the major projects that I've been working on for some time is it's a romantic comedy. It's kind of an adventure movie of an American woman who comes in Rwanda and falls in love. So I'll leave it at that. And because I've made films on genocide, I've done some small productions, but at the end of the day, how else do you speak of Rwanda on big screen if you don't do, like, it's a feel-good movie, like,
No, we're in a place where we're falling in love,
so
let's tell that story.
Yeah, so it's Autumn in Paris. It's really about Rwanda and how Rwanda looks today, because if you go to Revero, and because I'm a visual person, I look at it like this, should be a movie that can be made here. So there's a concept around it, and I've been encouraged. There's a guy who has been working for Spike Lee for 30 years. He's a production designer. When Thomas, he was like, Eric, I'd love to come and help you design a film. Because a production designer is the guy who actually, like, visually presents
You take him to a place and he looks around.
Yeah, he looks around.
If it works, well and good. Okay.
And
nice.
he designed King Richard. The film that featured Will Smith. And so he's interested. He's really talking to some of his friends.
That's good.
But again, you need the finances. So we're talking to some banks to put it together, and then it takes longer.
I hope somebody will come through. I hope banks and other organizations will come through.
So it's a rom-com adventure that will show Kigali. Will have area shots, car chase, motorbike chase.
Beautiful.
So I don't want to reveal too much into it, but those who have been around me know exactly what kind of film I'm talking about.
I wish you all the best with that.
Thank you.
I would love you to invite Apostle Mignon on my behalf.
Okay.
I would love to have an interview with her.
Okay, maybe she's listening. Maybe she will.
I'm sure she is. So, Apostle Mignon, this is an invitation from me. I would love one of these days to have you on that seat.
Okay.
Thank you. So, now that I have brought her up, you're a power couple. When you get home, the two of you, and we've got Eric, the one that educates the world through film, and we've got the wife who's an apostle, a spiritual leader. How do you two ensure that your roles don't clash when you're at home?
I think we're just too busy sometimes, and we are so much consumed by the societal issues of responding and doing that, and that has been a path where we sort of like help each other in that particular realm, and yeah, it's a passion, it's a dedication she has. It's my passion into the film, and
she supports you.
she supports me. I support her, and as she says it, she has a slogan into her congregation: "As iron sharpens iron." So we go through that philosophy, and it's great. I mean, it comes with its own challenges, because when two people are too busy, I mean, you find that alongside many other many other societies and current societies, but it has to sort of like move for the greater good of the people, and so that you inspire, so that you don't give a different vibration to the community that you're supposed to serve.
I'm sure there are a lot of people that look up to you for inspiration. Yeah.
I mean, we learn. I mean, the bottom line, we have just to be good listeners, and to listen to advice, to listen to, I mean, at least for me, I tend to hang around people who are older than me, wiser than me, and who tell me things like it is.
They'll tell you, here you're wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah.
So I have an old man back in,
Yeah.
an old friend back in Los Angeles. He's 85 years old. He was the president of ABC Distribution. And, I just call him up for him to just put me in order.
An 85-year-old.
Yeah. He's just like, the trouble with you don't listen.
Is there any one thing that the two of you disagree on?
With my wife?
Yes.
I
The
mean,
thing that, this relationship, there's this one thing.
I mean, the more you observe life is full of contradictions. And you have to be in a position of appreciating those contradictions so that you can work through it.
Yeah.
So, just like any other couple, goes, I don't think that you're doing it right. And then you go like, I don't think that you're also doing it right.
Yeah.
So it's normal. It's normal. It's just a matter of knowing, like, can you listen to your heart? Can you listen to your advice? And like, my kids are my best advisors. They tell me, like, you're getting it so wrong. I think you're old school.
Advices about marriage or about
No,
work?
about life.
About
Life,
life.
career, and things like that.
Okay.
Even sometimes they observe. I mean, most families, people who are married, their best advisors are their kids.
Because they observe.
They may not say a lot. They just look at you, and that should be, like the measuring grade.
Yeah. 6 Qs. I have a question that has come through, which I want to drop into the 6 Qs. We're talking to Eric Kabera. We will have him, I'm sure, I will pass an official request to have him back in future. Probably if we can have the two of them here, it will be amazing. Then we can talk about their relationship. And they can cancel some of us who still go to church, supermarket, and everywhere, hoping to find the person, and yet that person is not there. Well, it is The Real Talk on RTV. We will be back in a bit. Welcome back. Glad to have you on The Real Talk. My name is Jackie. Eric is our guest today. I love 6 Qs. It's my favorite part. Eric, our 6 Qs, my first question is, what is the secret to your young looks? That's a question I got from one of my viewers.
Okay.
Yes, what is it that keeps you looking this young?
Oh, wow. I'm not too sure whether I still look young, but
You do.
I'll take the compliment. I once used to be younger than this. I'm 54, so that's should give me some times to reflect and to think of what I have to say. Because if I say it wrong, my kids will say, "Why did you say it?"
Yeah. Dad, you embarrassed us.
Yeah. So what I do is I try to take care of myself, watch what I eat, and exercise whenever I can, and sometimes take vitamins as a supplement, because I'm one of those people who believe in science, and whenever it's important, I need to listen to my body to go like, okay, Do you have enough vitamins? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you taking too much caffeine? Are you, is your mental health okay? Are you talking to the right people? Are you surrounding yourself with good people? So those are questions that keep me alert.
Yeah. You pay attention. When anybody speaks to you, you pay attention.
Yeah, I pay attention. I pray, and praying is not necessarily being just all the time in church, but I have my own sort of spiritual moment, and everything that I pray for or I ask for God to provide, so far He has provided.
Okay.
So, yeah.
My second question, what one word describes you? A single word that describes you best.
Oh my God, that's difficult. I just want to be as simple as I can. Sometimes, because people, sometimes they see me either within the framework of my career. They think that I'm too famous, I'm not abordable, we call it in French, or I'm too bougie or too pompous. And then when they talk to me, they just realize that I'm just like a regular guy. And that's what I want. I want just to be like, because we all have the same aspirations, the same dreams, the same challenges. So I like the person in front of me to appreciate that I know that they're going through their own challenges. They also appreciate that I'm going through my own challenges. So simplicity, I think simplicity is key, and hard work, and really trying to challenge yourself all the time, and laugh at yourself.
Simple, hardworking, all those. And then, what is your favorite hobby?
Wow, I love hiking. I don't do it much, but I love hiking. I'm part of a group that goes hiking every Sunday. That clashes with the times that I'm supposed to be in church. So talking about those elements of conflict. It's like it's conflicting, it's like this calendar is conflicting with my church time, but at the end of the day,
And that hasn't caused trouble in the marriage?
No, I mean, it's, as I was just saying, those contradictions that exist in everybody's life.
Oh, yes.
And so that, and then I love sitting and talking to people.
Beautiful, yeah.
And that puts my mental health in check, and I feel happy about it. So have a good conversation, not gossip, nothing, but really good conversations.
Good, rich, yeah.
And yeah.
That's good. And if you had all the money in the world, what would you invest in with your heart?
You want me to say I'm going to buy the biggest car that I have?
I have a feeling that wouldn't be it.
So I will invest it once again into education, because I'm very, very passionate about education. I still want to learn, and I still want to grow in an environment where people are learning, because some of my students have become my mentors, and they become my partners, they become my collaborators, and no money can give you that. Yeah. So
it's education all through for you and the others.
Yeah. Education and meeting people. I think I'll invest again. I used to have a hotel. I'll do like education and hospitality, and I'm on that path. So I'm working on expanding and creating.
Because a hotel actually brings people your way.
Yeah. So
if you love to meet people, you love talking to them. Perfect business idea.
Yeah. Even at my friend is always the one who teases me. He's like, this is not a cafe, because at my office I deliberately set up a studio cafe. So, and that's where we're doing the show. Wow. So, and
I'll visit.
And then he goes like, this is not really the cafe. This is just a place for you to hang out with your friends.
Because that's what you love to do.
Yeah, and there's some truth in that, but at the end of the day, I love community. I love to hang around with people who will empower you intellectually, socially, culturally, and philosophically. Economically, it would be even much better. But
we've got those that empower you economically too.
So,
And then what's been the highlight of your career?
Coming soon. I don't think that I've really reached the epitome of like my...
So we're told to celebrate the small milestones. So far, I know there's more to come. So far, what do you celebrate?
I remember when we launched Africa United in London. It was to the Trocadero or Leicester Square, where they have all these big cinemas. And we're on the red carpet with the paparazzi journalists and things like that. And this journalist goes like, "This must be like the greatest day of your life." And I'm like, "No,
Yeah.
this is not." And the biggest like, I don't know whether I would call it achievement or like the things that really triggers me is when I go into the hills and then I blow up the screen and then have like 10,000 people watching a movie and having a laughter and having a good time. So those are moments that really marked my career.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, you know, that's what interested the Academy, that what interested Tribeca Film Festival, and that's what gets the Sundance Film Institute and Festival talking to me. Not that I'm the greatest filmmaker that is out there, but it's because of that, and that comes with its own originality. And I find it great, and I'm kind of missing it. So maybe we're going to do it
we should go back. And the next time you hit the road, I'll be with you.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll be together. And lastly, what would you say to your younger self?
Yeah, listen to your body.
Something that your children, your kids are watching, so
yeah,
they'll
just
pick that.
listen to your body and listen to advice and hang around with older people than you, and play the student as much as you can.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you. Yeah.
Hope we covered everything that you wanted.
I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did. Thank you so much for having made time to watch The Real Talk. This conversation with Eric was enlightening, inspiring. I've loved it so much. I am passionate about communication, the media, film. I will be talking to Eric actually after this program to find if he can turn me into an actor or actress, whatever term they use. It's something I have in me, and I will be doing that. If you have that passion or dream, please talk to us. Use the hashtag #TheRealTalk. We will respond. Thank you for giving us your time, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. God bless you.